It's v.h.s.x. What do you mean?
Alright everybody, we got an interesting one here suggested by one of you guys in the Discord community, so shout out to Unruly Line 47 for suggesting this. Now, this is a very important post because apparently this is from the devs apparently responding to like the concept of role-sided and role-favored Black Banquet and Lights Out, and I think it's very important that we really take some time out to analyze this, because I think that not only is this just pure and unadulterated lies, deceit, and of course the classic, you know, false promises, the empty promises that behavior has consistently been obsessed with engaging in, but I think that a lot of people are going to eat it up, most likely. And I haven't read this yet, but I already know that people are going to eat it up, slurp up the slop again, and then continue to keep supporting this dev team that clearly has shown us through their ironically enough, their behavior, that they don't care about the majority of the player base. It is evidently so. But let's go ahead and actually give it a read. So we had to pop out the Brain Alive machine. We got to make sure we're going in full capacity right now. We're going with all cylinders. We're locked in. Okay. So the post says, that is a very interesting question. It says, at the base, there is no such things as intentional favoritism within the team. So right off the bat, it's saying intentional, which means that subconsciously, I guess they're trying to claim subconsciously that they are favoring Survivor. But we all know that's not true. You know, they like to say that it's not intentional favoritism, but we can see that through their changes, their behavior, the way that they're choosing to conduct even their demonstrations and examples, their changes. Like when we saw, like, oh, the evil skull merchant, like slugging the poor survivors, like they're in the DNA of what they're trying to say. Always resorts to making the survivors the victims of every single, you know, misdeed and judgment of the fucking killer. And it's like it gets exhausting seeing the stupidity. But let's continue. They say our team is very focused on all of our players, not just who plays what side, which is not true. We all know that's a lie. We all know that's a lie. We've covered it before. Any gander at patch notes, I keep bringing it up because the patch notes are definitively what they're adding into the game and what is coming in order to, oh, I don't know, that changes the play the game is played, right? And if you continue, right, to keep making these changes that only are favoring the survivor side, are only adding on to the frustration of a killer player, I think it's beyond obvious. I'm just saying, I think it's beyond obvious. I mean, they can keep on lying and making up narratives in their heads, trying to pretend as if, like, and people are going to eat it up. That's the problem. People are going to eat up the slop, and they're going to genuinely believe them. And that's the problem. Let's continue. So they say, during our internal playtest, oh, that's a lie. You know they don't playtest anything. Come on now. Get the fuck out of here. You lost all of us right off the bat. There's 3 lies detected. They don't play test anything. The Walking Dead chapter was the perfect example of that. When there was a metal beam in the freaking offering screen that could have been caught within first match of you loading it up to play test. No, you don't. They don't play test anything. Like let's be so for real. They don't play test anything. Or if they do, they only play test the survivor side and make sure everything's nice and broken, and then they hit release. They don't actually sit there and actually play test their game. That's bullshit. Like, we all know that's bullshit. Come on now. Let's continue. They say, now there are many other things at play, but I wanted to focus on one: the concept of role-sided versus role-favored. So let's see what they're going to define as role-sided, role-favored. Right? Let's just take a look. You know, this is an important thing that we need to look into. So let's begin. They say role-sided is when the absolute balance, kill rate / escape rate is wrong. What defines wrong? We don't know. Anyway, they say we try to make things balance whenever, but balancing asymmetry with 40 plus killers is not easy. We balance this every iterations of an event. That's not exactly accurate, because they can limit what killers are being used in these events. So that's not even entirely accurate. They can choose to do that. That's why 2v8 has Freddy locked out. He will never get added. Or for the example, like they removed Legion. You can actually have that as a feature. You can just disable certain killers from being in those modes if you so choose. If you so decided to choose that. So that entirely is inaccurate. That's why I'm saying, like, come on. They want to say like, oh, it's so, oh my god, it's so hard, and it's like you're creating these characters. You're getting the feedback, which I mean, the feedback already is bullshit anyway because it's all poisoned well feedback. But regardless, they're acting like it's like, oh my god, what do we do? Like, you can control which characters are available in this event. You can control what modifiers are added, how that interacts with these killers, and you can choose whether to add them or not. That's why we never got Freddy in Lights Out. Like, let's be so for real. Like, come on. It's stupid. Like, it's just lazy to me, because it's like, if you really are trying to look out for all the players and you care about all the players, you would want to create an experience that both sides can enjoy. But that's not what you're doing when you're adding one single bonus for one side and then 20 on the other. That doesn't make any sense. Like, but people still eat it up. Oh, this is amazing. I love this game. For what? But anyway. They say role favored would be when the interaction with the new concept feels more meaningful for one role than the other. Since you mentioned Black Banquet and Lights Out, I use them as an example. But that's the problem. It's constantly being favored to Survivor. And Black Banquet and Lights Out are two egregious examples of that. Why is our killers only receiving a single bonus? They don't get anything unique, anything interesting, anything that makes them play differently. It's only just a fart cloud or Franklin's that doesn't work on the fucking event because no one's holding items. Like, these lanterns are not considered items. Or it's bugged where it doesn't consider it an item. So you're not getting Franklin's value. So survivors are walking around with like 10 different effects. Killers have 0. Like, what? Like, but anyway, let's continue. They say Black Banquet had a bunch of meals effect for survivors and the poison for killers. The poison was really strong, but killers can only do that, so it didn't felt meaningful. They said the poison was really strong. Yeah, no, I think it's over, bro. Yeah, no, I think it's cooked. I think it's cooked. Yeah. Yeah, no, behavior is blown off a cliff with their logic at this point. They said the poison was really strong. Yo, this is the same dev team that's focusing on changing the sound effects of bananas in a random map instead of bug fixing things that have been bugged for 10 years, like 8 years, to 3 years, 5 years. But the second that a banana is making us a different sound effect than it should, oh man, we gotta rush to patch that out. Why are we concerned with that? Why are we wasting manpower and hours and all this other time to sound effects of fruit? Like, what are we doing? Like, this dev team, man. Like, what are we doing, man? Makes no sense. So anyway, not because of the strength or usefulness of that one mechanic, but more because survivors had many toys and killer had one. That right there is what we would call survivor favored. The strength of end kill rate ultimately does not matter. Everyone wants to have access to the new fun mechanics. But that right there is exactly what people's frustrations were with the fucking mode. Because nobody is saying strength and kill rate necessarily. What they're saying is, why is there such a gigantic, drastic, Grand Canyon gap in terms of mechanics? The killers are receiving a fart cloud, and that's it. Like, you get nothing else. Survivors are getting 10 to 15 different things that all do different shit. What? Like, they had invisibility. Like, they had free healing for the entire map. Like, invincible pallets. You can't break them. You can't interact with them. They're just there. You can't vault them as a killer, especially on Legion. Like, what? You literally have, like, I think, what was it, like a base kit, like Unbreakable? I forget at this point. There's so many things that they received as a bonus, and then it's like killers get a single fart cloud you can just use. Yay. Like, what is that supposed to do for anybody? So, you can say, like, okay, sure, you could say that the kill rate doesn't matter, but we're asking for interesting mechanics to make killer play differently. And why is it that in the previous events, like the old Blood Moon, where there was zones that killers could use to increase their lunge, things like that, it allowed for interesting gameplay that at least was different than the 1v4, and then as time progressed, they continued to remove those things from the Blood Moon, from the barbecue event, from this, from that. What are you talking? Like, what are they yapping about? Like, hello? So they say for Lights Out, it might surprise a few of you, but Lights Out was quite killer-sided and killer-favored in surveys. Players, I mean, there it is right there. Remember how, you have to remember, I keep telling you guys, that the feedback they get is poisoned. I keep telling you this. The feedback that they get is a poisoned well. They keep getting the wrong feedback over and over and over again. How many times have I said that? They always are receiving bad feedback. When they're relying on fucking surveys, which they create themselves, which we've seen in the past, mind you, in the past, their entire they had 4 different surveys that only asked Survivor players, why are you uninstalling the game? In no instance were they ever asking killers, why were you uninstalling the fucking game? Nope, they never did that. Remember that. They never asked that. They never asked that in 4 different surveys before finally the latest one that came out after that one. Oh, now we're gonna ask the killer players. So, like, what are we talking about? So they can say, oh, but in our surveys, but your surveys are only focused for survivors. You're not even asking all the players. You're only asking half of them. Like, what are we talking about? So they're saying, like, oh, but, you know, the experience was lacking. And we've been trying to improve the experience for everyone to enjoy. I'm like, but that's the problem. You keep making these modes have no stakes. There's nothing interesting with that. There's nothing interesting there. Some people like the challenge. They want to feel like they're actually trying to survive on the survivor side. When you're adding these mechanics, you just remove everything that would make it interesting. So they say in the first iteration, no roles had much mechanics, but killers were favored because they had tools such as the camping or reading of gens plus exit gate. They could hear injured survivors fairly easily. Plus, some killers had advantages in their base could attract people despite the darkness. So that right there, look at that. This is another key component that we need to take a note of. They said they could hear injured survivors fairly easily. Now, I have only maybe read about 1 comment or so that had mentioned that, or even I think it was a Reddit post that said, like, the game sounded a lot quieter in the 2v, and not the 2v8, the Lights Out. Now we know that they deliberately are fucking with the audio so that you can't hear anything. So notice the language, right? Because they say in the, like, they say in version 2 we added a bit more on the survivor side to balance things out. So they say, remember, look, they quote unquote added a bit more, which, mind you, I had to correct myself from before because I didn't realize that the 20% gen repair speed was just always a mechanic in the fucking mode. So so correction for that, because JC Glitchmaster cleared that up in his video. I've already covered that previously. But the fact of the matter is that those mechanics were already hand-holding them anyway. So now that we're adding the spawning with lanterns bullshit, the aura reading on top of the lantern bullshit, on top of the pallet density, on top of that, like, you know, with the combination of 20% repair speed, 5% already on the gens, you know what I mean, pallet density, like the gigantic fucking anti-camp. What did you, like, you know what I mean? That to them is a bit more. So what counts as a lot? What counts as the most amount? What counts as way too much when you think about it? So they say lanterns may feel survivor favored. So think about the language. May feel, not they are, not oh yeah, you know, we acknowledge that's a bit excessive. No, they may feel. So in their minds, they believe no, that's perfectly enough. Whoa, yeah, that's not even remotely enough for survivor to take advantage of. What are we talking about? Like, what are we talking about? Because, like, okay, I can acknowledge what they're saying. They say, oh, okay, but if you have the lantern, you know, the killer can see you. You know, being held or placed on a gen is useful intel. But the problem is the intel is invalidated by gen repair speed, the pre-repaired gens, the fact that they have pallet density, the fact that they have aura rating for every single yellow square on the goddamn screen. So, you know, okay, cool. You give the killers 1 advantage, but you gave the survivors 10 more. So, like, that's still an imbalance. That's what people are trying to fucking say. But when you keep asking only one particular player their opinion, you're only going to get that one opinion. You're not going to get anything that disproves that. You're not going to get anything that will tell you the opposite and will tell you the counter and say, we disagree because of this, and then you can make a more educated change. But but they're not trying to do that. They're not interested in creating an experience for everyone. They say that they are, but then with their actions show that they are not. So they say we continue to try to improve the experience in V3 by targeting some of the more aggravating elements, such as showing the exit gate. Survivors had to run along walls to find the exit while the killer just saw them. It was kind of unfair in our opinion. Like, don't the exit gates have lights on them? Like, are we being so for real? Like, I just am flabbergasted by the stupidity, because keeping in mind that it's supposed to be lights out, you should not be able to fucking see. Now, hey, if you want to have which, mind you, isn't there a bubble when the gate goes off? You gonna tell me that, like, people can't turn around and look? You can't turn your mouse? You can't move your thumbstick to the side and look around? You can't do that? Like, you don't see the bubble? Like, oh, it's over there. You don't see that? What? Brother. So they say, so sometimes it might seem like we're favoring one role over the other, but we are trying to balance the experience so everyone can have fun. But that's not entirely true. Because if you're really worried about everyone's fun, which here's an important aspect that I think behavior needs to get through their heads, is the fact that if everybody, like, the thing is, you can't please everybody. It is quite literally impossible to please everyone. So my entire suggestion has constantly been, get a fucking vision for the game. Figure out, what do we want this game to look like? What changes can we make to reach that goal? We have a horror asymmetrical game on our hands here. How can we make the game more horror related? How can we make the game more scary, spooky, creepy? Like, why are we not adding in those things? The Silent Hill map, Midwich, I think is one of the best examples. I wish it was a little darker, but that's besides the point. They literally have a jump scare in the map. The only map in the game that has a jump scare. Why are we not leaning into those things? Little jump scares in the maps. Make them darker. Make it more creepy. You know what I mean? Why are we not leaning into more cosmetics that are more scary looking, that have more of a horror element, instead of having neon pink outfits and all these fucking bullshit? Why are we not leaning into the horror? Why are we not leaning into these things that define what horror is, or at least define the genre, and make it lean toward that? If you're trying to create a game that is specifically about recreating like that slasher experience, like that's how the game initially started, at least from what they've stated, then why are we not leaning into that? Go all the way. Be like, okay, we want to make a party game. Boom, make a party game. Make it toward that direction. But the thing is that behavior wants to have their cake and eat it too. They want to have, oh, but we're balanced enough to have comp, but we also are a party game. It's like you can't dip it in both. because both are just going to cross contaminate, and it's going to create this slop that we have now, which has no vision, is trying to have everyone with fun bullshit, which is all nonsensical because you can't please everybody. And because of the changes that they keep making, it's already still falling with that. You're already pushing away veteran survivor players, and you're pushing away killer players in general, because you're catering to the casual babies that only load up the game when there's an event, when there's a mode, when there's a thing. They're not loading up the game because they like the fucking game, because if they did, they would be playing at all times. It would not just be turning on the game when it's 2v8 or turning on the game when it's something else. Lean into the vision. If you want it, like, you got to lean into that. Pick something and go that direction. That's what people are ultimately trying to ask for. That's why I look at something like Marvel Rivals and I gotta give them credit, because it's like they already stated from the get-go, we have a vision, we want to create a Marvel experience. We're gonna have PvE stuff, PvP stuff. We already have the PvP stuff. Here's other, like, versus AI type stuff. Here's other events we're gonna do that are specifically for just fun. We want to create these little hubs where people can walk around and emote and have fun with the different things and take pictures. Like they already stated, and they're showing, look, our vision is fun. At the end of the day, we're trying to make a fun experience. It's not just a hero shooter. We want it to be an everything kind of game. Compared to DBD, where they don't know what the hell they're doing, and then every update's a freaking mess. So it's like, it's just ridiculous. It's stupid, ridiculous, and it makes no sense. But let's go ahead and actually read a couple responses, which you might not be able to see because of the machine, but it's okay. So we have some people that are basically saying like, oh, it was a good answer, which, I mean, it was not. Some people say like that the poison was strong in certain killers, but that was it. It was kind of cool because it's new, but then it's just boring. Which is the point. This person says that the poison would be strong if they didn't for some reason double the pallets in the event mode. There's already a high density lately, and they made it worse. So many times they use poison and people would make multiple different pallets or a window. And mind you, they got downvoted quite a bit because they said the truth. Because they said things that they disagree with. Because they want to continue to be the pay pigs for behavior. They want to continue to slop up the slop and continue to keep paying behavior for their lazy bullshit ass effort that they're putting in. It's pointless and it's ridiculous to me that people are letting this slide. And that's why they've been going for so long, because these people are just happy with just slop. They're happy with bullshit. They're happy with just eating it. And it's like, why are we not asking for greater? Why are we not asking for a better dev team? Why are we not asking for a better experience? Why are we not asking for our opinions to fucking matter? You know what I mean? So it goes pretty much back and forth. They keep saying it's a strong, great answer. That's what I keep seeing. Like, as this person says, genuine ownership and understanding / acknowledgements. But this is exactly my concern. This is exactly what I've been talking about. This is exactly what I've been saying, right? People out here are genuinely sitting around and praising them for just writing a nonsense, nothing burger response. Like, oh, we think that this mode was favored, so we did this. And it's like, just because they're using fancy words doesn't mean anything, buddy. You have to look deeper, and thankfully it's written down so you can reread it if you really fucking need to, and be able to understand the language they're using and understand, like, comparing it to what they're actually doing. Because keep in mind that behavior ultimately is the king of false promises. They constantly will say, oh, woe is us. We have a vision for a thing, you know. We just want to do the things and have it fun for everyone. And it's like, but okay, if that were true, how come we're not actually seeing that? Why are we not seeing that actually in execution? Why not? Why are we not seeing that in execution? Because if it were true that they were actually doing that, why are we not seeing it? Why are we only seeing changes that only favor survivor players and baby survivor players at that? Not even veteran survivor players. Because we've seen so many people that are experienced or veterans on Survivor to go, this is boring. Like, where's the challenge? Like, where's the interesting parts? Where's the stakes? You know what I mean? So this person makes a good point that they were saying that the product manager, JP from the dev team in the Q&A, not the community manager, that is typically active in the subreddit. That's why JP signed off at the end to indicate that they were the person answering the question. So that right there, product manager. Let's really think about this. Product manager. And this other person makes a good point. They say acknowledging doesn't mean anything if you don't actually fix it. But I'm just saying, we have to keep our eyes open, keep your ears open. You have to understand that behavior is just I don't know if they have like hidden writers in amongst the team that are like, oh, we need to make up a response, just get the writer on it, and then they just start clickety clacking on their keyboard saying, hey, just say this, but like say it in like corporate terms so that they'll believe us. That's what it seems like, because people are just gonna take this response and just eat it up and think, oh, the game will get better. I'm like, no, it won't. So this person makes a good point. They say, when it comes to limited game modes, I care less about balance, but it should be fun and different. As was mentioned, Killer just didn't have much to do in the banquet. In my opinion, the lanterns and windows of opportunity auras sort of defeat the original purpose of Lights Out, which I've been saying since day one, obviously. They say it's always difficult to talk about balance because there is such a wide range of skill in DBD's player base and a wide range of power amongst killers. Hopefully the upcoming SBMM rework will help things a bit. They say that there's also the fact that DBD still has a huge problem onboarding new players and getting them to a point where they're comfortable playing real DBD, in quotations, and not just doing random bullshit matches and then getting upset when they lose. It's true. It's very true. I mean, it just goes without saying, you know? And then this person says that all games are unplayable if it's unfun. The point of a game is to have fun, which is also true. And yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Like, they state, oh, we want to make this experience and do this for the team and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And execution is all that matters. Action is more important than anything else when it comes down to the devs. Because every single time they do something wrong, it's just, oh, we're sorry. We're sorry. And then everyone eats it up. They just take it. It's like, bro. Whatever, man. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, of course, what you think of the topic at hand today. Number 1. 2, check out the other channels, man. Check out the Rivals channel and my main channel where I talk about other games and other stuff that I like. Consider becoming a member on YouTube or Patreon, or even subbing on Twitch. I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, we're gonna shout out all the members. So shout out Patreon Crow Vader. So shout out to Raz Makai, Cozy with Brando, Evil Blade 17 as well. Also Kargan Falcon, Dole Whip, Noxus, Zero Mocker, Christian, and Crow Vader. Appreciate you guys, man. If you want your name read off at the end of every video, you can go ahead and become a member. With one of the tiers is the bonus you get. So appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.